Hi, I'm Jami Amerine, author, speaker, artist, wife, mom, and friend. This week's episode is Road Weary, hoping when you can barely put your pants on. Today's episode is brought to you by independent beauty consultant Jennifer Willerton, the only person I trust with my face. Let's get this thing started. Hello, friend. This is Jami Amerine, author and blogger at Sacred Ground Sticky Floors, and today's podcast is Road Weary, hoping when you can barely put your pants on. I call it road weary. You may call it something else, but it's basically that long, treacherous road of a specific struggle, like marital problems or parenting issues, financial, religious, physical, as in with chronic pain or illness or anything that you find yourself going through. And I'm sure you know that feeling of, I just can't do it anymore. I know there's been seasons like that throughout my life. And actually, if I'm going to be completely honest, my husband and I have been going through a really hard, long season right now. We're in the middle of it, and it's work-related, and it's exhausting and miserable. And I have several friends that are in impossible situations right now. The finish line isn't even in their line of vision. It's nowhere to be seen. They just, and I hear their struggles and I compare them to mine and think, oh gosh, that's nothing compared to that. But it is something to God. And it is right there in front of us. And it is just that hill that you can't seem to climb. Prayer is, the first thing that we say. I'll pray for you. And I try not to ever say that without stopping right then and doing it, because life is so full of pookie and so many things are constantly going on. And I believe that those spoken moments of saying that you're going to do that are so important in our conversation with God and with each other. But a lot of times I think we also say that, have you ever heard it? Well, all I have left to do is pray. Well, actually, if that should be foremost for me. Please pray, because we need that. We need that intercessory place in our community where we know that someone is standing in the gap and holding our arms up and staying there. And I understand that sometimes that doesn't seem like quite enough, and sometimes it almost adds, salt to the wound, just like, yeah, I guess. Because when we're road weary and when we feel like we haven't been answered or heard, and we just feel that overwhelming sense of giving up, it is a very low place. And so I hear you and I understand that, and I want you to know I hear you and understand that. But I will say this, there is also a space where that seems so little when things are so big. I recently listened to this podcast, one I almost never, ever listened to, but it had somebody on it that sounded interesting, and he was going to be talking about prayer. And so I just turned it on my way back from dropping kids off at school and listened to it. It's very short. I'm not going to link it because it was so discouraging. But, and the host of it is somebody that I like, but he actually didn't agree with the person that he was interviewing. And the podcast left me confused and discouraged. The interviewee claimed that prayer is simply conversation and that God doesn't intervene in our lives anymore. And I actually kind of wish I'd stopped listening then, but I thought, well, I'm going to hear what he has to say. I have since resolved that, so hear me now. I've resolved what he said. God has helped me work through it, and I've come out on the other side. I like to be challenged. Some people say that you shouldn't listen to anything that doesn't agree with exactly what you agree with, and I totally disagree with that. I love to be challenged. I like listening to people I don't agree with or that move me to think outside of my box and resolve things and grow in what I do know about myself and God. But this podcast left me tossing and turning. It was just absolutely ugh. And I know the enemy loves this. I liken my separation from my core beliefs to losing my cell phone. My cell phone is basically my whole world. Jesus, coffee, my iPhone. Those are my staples. But if I lost my iPhone, all the people I love would basically be dead to me. I couldn't find my children if I needed to, if there was some kind of weird apocalypse and I needed to call them or text them. I don't have any of those numbers memorized, so it would be over. And that's how I felt. I need Jesus like even more than I need my iPhone. He's my world. And this message kind of just left me in this spot of, ugh. That's how I felt after I listened to this podcast on how God was no longer active in my life. And this went on for several days. I was road weary and my faith was shaken by a few words that had been spoken by this random dude on this stupid podcast. The contender had made scriptural points, and he had also pointed out, well, God didn't seem to be answering some pretty big prayer requests that were completely legitimate from good, decent people. And that was kind of his proof. And I wrestled with these thoughts for days, and discouragement was my constant companion. Finally, I carved out an hour to get alone with Jesus. And my prayer, it was not even necessarily a prayer more than it was a rant. And I was just out loud like, are you even there, God? Was that interview true? And why won't you help us? Why won't you help all these people that are hurting? But alone in my hurt, I was overcome with this peace. I am. Are you even there, God? I am. Was that interview true? Are you who you say you are? I am. Why won't you help us? Why aren't you answering us? Are you real? I am. This is such a huge part of Jesus' ministry. That's a simple statement. He is. He is here with me. He is there with you. Hope is faith in motion. Say that again. Hope is faith in motion. I have hope he will come and he will restore and make things new. And he is here now. He is here with me. And I ask him again, are you here with me? I am. I opened my Bible, and without digging or searching, I found proof that I needed to continue. Road weary as I am, this was my hope. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken, which is from Psalm 62:1. Y'all, I absolutely believe in the power of Scripture. I know my brain. I know how it works. I know how worked up I can get. And I'm not one to spend hours reading my Bible. Black and white text sends my dyslexic brain into wonky world. I mean, it just is miserable. But he still always answers me. These words that I was reading were so powerful in the focus of my hope that it just instantly covered me in a peace that I know I couldn't have manifested by myself. When my mind starts to wander down worry lane, I love to whisper, I am. And when I say that, not because of me, like I am, but because of who he says he is. I am protector. I am father. I am the good shepherd. My faith goes back into motion. In those moments when his words are hop off the page at me or pop into my mind or I see a billboard or any of those things, I know the significance and the realness of who he says he is. Who he is enough. Who he is the thing that carries me through, and believing in who he is and who he says he is and who he says I am is enough to put me back, and my faith is back in motion. So today I couldn't just pick one scripture because I had three that have just kind of been carrying me through. The first one is the one that I'd read previously. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I will not be shaken. Psalm 62:1-2. And then I found this one that just literally fell in my lap and then fell in my lap 2 more times during the week. And it's from Nahum 1:7. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble. He knows those who trust in him. He knows us. He knows who we are, and he is active in our present day. And then finally, this other one, and I just love this. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, which is from John 10:14. I know my sheep, and they know me. He is the good shepherd. And I actually just sent this to a friend of mine who's going to be in an awkward situation. Just if all you can remember is that one thing, I am. Because he is all those things. He's all the things that he says he was. And he's all the things, or is. And he's all the things that he says you are, which is daughter. And that's huge. I think of the protective care that my dad has for me, the protective care that Justin has for our kids. He is a good father. And I fully believe that in our parenting journey, that was the perfect way for him to reflect the truth of who we are in him, who we are and who we belong to is him. I say that to my kids all the time, remember who you are, remember where you came from, and remember who you belong to. And remembering that is so important. If our kids ask us for something, the answer might not be yes right away, but why is the answer no? Or why is the answer yes, maybe later? And it's always for good reason. There's always rhyme and reason with it. And he is a good father. He is all of those things. I am. Listen, guys, I'm Jami Amerine, and this has been another episode of Sacred Ground Sticky Floors podcast. Today's show was brought to you by independent beauty consultant Jennifer Willerton. Her link is in the show notes, and she also has a special for you if you will contact her through my webpage and through the page I have for her. She has a special offer for my readers and listeners. My skin is so much better, so much smoother. My makeup stays on longer since I've been using her products. I really recommend that you check them out. Do me a favor and please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. If you'll screenshot that and then DM me a picture of that screenshot on Instagram at Jami Amerine, I will send you a video chat back on your Instagram. Just between you and me, and you can answer me. We might have time to talk a little. Don't forget to visit my Etsy shop for Jesus Be All Over You t-shirts, signs, farmhouse crosses, and original art by me with the help of my husband. Until next time, friends, Jesus be all over you. Don't forget who he is. Don't forget who you are. He loves you, and he's for you, and he's with you. Until next time, take care, friends.